Hello, my name is Monica Goucher, and I have a question for you. What secrets did your family have hidden while you were growing up? And how did you feel when you learned them? That is the premise behind the story Fun Home, a family tragic comedy written and illustrated by Allison Bechdel. Bechdel is an illustrator and a cartoonist whose work has been published in the New York Times, Entertainment Weekly, and the New Yorker. This story is an autobiographical telling of her childhood, adolescence, and college years in Beech Creek, Pennsylvania in the 1960s and 70s. In 1980, one day while her father was discarding yard waste, he crossed the road and was tragically hit and killed by the Sunshine Bread delivery truck in a horrible accident. Or was it an accident? Allison begins to wonder if her father meant to die, and so the accident wasn't an accident at all, but was actually a suicide. Fun home is the term that's given by Allison and her younger brothers to the family business, which is a funeral home. Upon her father's death, Allison asks, who embalms the undertaker when he dies? It was like Russell's paradox, the famous conundrum of the clean shaven barber whose sign reads, I shave all those men, and only those men who do not shave themselves. The barber, equally unable to shave himself and to not shave himself, is impossible. And yet, somehow, there he is. This conundrum is an example of the postmodernist element of skepticism that you will see peppered throughout this story. The book includes excerpts from Allison's childhood diaries, letters that her father wrote, drawings of family photos, and her father's notes scribbled in the margins of his favorite novels, such as The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald and Ulysses by James Joyce. The story jumps back and forth through time. For example, chapter 2, which begins with a happy death, starts off at the funeral for Allison's father. Then it goes back into time where we meet Allison's parents and their early married years. It goes further back to where her grandfather started the family business, then jumps forward to where her parents have purchased what they called the mansion. And there you see a picture of Allison hand drawn from the first grade. From there, it goes a little further forward to an incident where she and her brothers are spending the night at her grandmother's house. Her grandmother lives above the funeral parlor at the funeral home. So that's kind of a different experience. And grandmother tells them a story of when her father, as a 2 year old, escaped from the house, walked out into the muddy fields, and got stuck and couldn't move. The mailman saw him and came to rescue him. From there, it jumps forward to when Allison received the phone call about her father's accident, takes us to her father's funeral, and the story ends with her visiting her father at the graveside several years after his death. I would give this story an R rating for sexual situations and nudity. It is a graphic novel, and so there are some hand drawn nude bodies in this story, as well as some hand drawn sexual situations. And readers should be aware of that and prepared for that if they choose to read this graphic novel. However, I will say Allison's exploration about her sexual orientation was a completely new experience to me, and it really opened my eyes to help me understand just a little bit of what that must be like. For those who are searching to uncover that aspect of their identity, Bechdel shares her experience with both honesty and humor. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about this novel is seeing that different perspective. I felt like I was walking alongside Allison through her childhood into her adolescent years as she began questioning her sexual orientation, trying to figure out who she was, and as she goes on that journey of self discovery until she gets to the point where she realizes who she is and who she wants to be. I would recommend this graphic novel for anyone looking to understand the LGBTQ perspective, or if you have family secrets that you're trying to learn to accept and understand. Thank you for listening to this presentation.